What is going on, guys? And now that you're familiar with array syntax, I want you to take a look at one of our previous challenges where we had to read from the user 7 digits of his phone number. And then once we've done reading these numbers, we had to find out the maximum value or index, whatever it was. So we simply used some for loop to iterate over these 7 numbers, and that was great. We found everything we needed. But what will happen if your phone number happens to change from 7 to, let's say, 8? So instead of the 7 digits it was previously, now it's going to be 8 digits. Something like that can definitely happen, right? And that's not a big deal, but still you want your program to support such changes in the future, that these are things that may happen. And you want your program to be able to find the maximum value or the maximum index of that maximum value, even if changes like this happen. So if that's the case, basically what you will have to do in this case is to go over all the loops, find all the places where you've used the size of the array, which was 7 in the previous example, and simply change these values one after the other to be 8. So you would need to change all the places that you have the number 7 to 8, and that's not so complicated if the program is small like this one. But what will happen if your program will be hundreds and thousands of lines of code? Will you go and change every line just one by one? I mean, that's totally will be insane to do such a thing. And what will happen if you missed just a couple of places? You may have a lot of bugs. So that's exactly when the define comes to our aid. So let's come here, define, and basically what it allows us to do is simply to define the size of the array in just one place in our code. So then instead of using the number 7, which is the size of the array, we used it here at every point of our program. Instead of using 7 here, here, and so on, you will be able to use just one defined value, meaning that whenever the size of the array changes, we will need to change it only in one single place in our code. And that will work like charm, just changing it in one place and it will change everything in the code, everything in the program. So let's introduce the define. And we can actually see how it's written here at this first line. We first of all write the define word, and then we specify the constant value name. So the name here is size. And right afterward, we specify the constant value that this given name, this size, would have during all of our program. So this line simply means that whenever we will write this size, defined size value in our program, it will be equivalent as we've written here, just the value of 7 in this example. And also here you can see it, and here, and so on. Whenever you are going to write size, it's equivalent as you've written the number 7 previously. And basically, if you wanted to change, if we wanted to change right now from 7 to 8, the array, this given array, we will do this just at this line. At this line, we will change, instead of size, the value of it was previously 7, now we will just change it to be 8, and it will reflect the changes during all of your programs. So you will not need to go line by line and change the value of the array in the loops and in the declaration phase and so on. And this translation of the word size to the constant value that you've defined it here happens before the compilation phase of the program. Okay, so that's something we will discuss in the more advanced courses, not in this one. Just bear that in mind because it's important. And you may be asking, why should we even define size? This is a constant value, and not just use something like int size and read the size using scanf from the user, and then defined int arr in this given size that we read from the user. Because that's basically not going to work. This size variable that you will create is going to be a variable. And we know that a static array expects here in his square brackets, it expects a constant value. And by default, if you create a variable and then read from the user, this variable is going to be, well, variable. So that will not work. But you can try it and see what happens on your own. That's good practice. And although there is also another option to allocate dynamically, it won't be static. You can allocate dynamically, where you allocate an array of a given size that the user specifies at runtime. We're probably not going to talk about it also in this course, but that's important that you will also know that there are two types of arrays that you can allocate. One of them is the static approach, which you can see here. It's defined before you run the program, and that's why you specify it as a constant value. And there is also another dynamic approach that you can specify how much memory you want to allocate during runtime. So we will talk about it more in the advanced courses.